Welcome to Get Some Games, and this is our official review for EA Sports UFC 2 on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. I am Sean, and I'm going to be doing things a little bit differently today. I am going to be reviewing the game on my own, so I'm just going to tell you guys a little bit about it and kind of have a discussion, hopefully in the comments. You can let us know what you guys think about it instead of our usual format where I would have a discussion with Ben and or Weave. So as soon as you boot the game up for the very first time, the very first thing that you're going to notice is the presentation in UFC 2 is fantastic. The game starts off right off the bat in the final round of UFC 189, Robbie Lawler versus Rory McDonald, where you get to, well, it starts showing a really good in-game highlight reel of how the fight's been going so far, and then the tutorial is you playing the final round as Robbie Lawler. And I thought this was a great way to introduce people to the game. EA Sports does things like this in the past with Madden and NBA and pretty much all of their franchises now, and I still really like it. The presentation is phenomenal for this part. The only negative thing is the presentation is better in this than in the rest of the game, and it kind of stands out. Farther along down the line, you'll kind of forget about it, but right away, you'll really notice it where the commentary is a lot better because it's way more personal since the fight is an actual fight with an actual history, and the commentating never gets that specific or that detailed in any of the other fights that you're going to play in the game. But for its purpose, this intro, I think, is spectacular, really well done. But with the announced team, that's not to say that they're bad in the rest of the game. Both Joe Rogan and Mike Goldberg do a very good job of making you feel the intensity of the fight. They sound really intense when the fight gets intense, like when you have a knockdown or if you rock somebody, it sounds very like what they would say in real life or what they would do or how they would sound or how they would act. I would like, this is kind of a problem with almost every game except maybe the NBA 2K series. It's hard for them to really tell stories for the fight. Like they rarely stray away from just telling you exactly what's going on screen. Of course, they tell a little bit of the history of the fighters, but you know, that's more of just a video game issue and not just with this game. I never have had any issues with the commentary in this game. More for the presentation, like they have slow-mo replays for knockouts and different camera angles, and the menu system is really clean. There's a great soundtrack with artists like DMX, Run the Jewels, Bring Me the Horizon, NF, Machine Gun Kelly, and a whole lot more. For the roster, there's over 250 fighters, which is an insane number for any fighting game. Of course, you've got staples like Conor McGregor, Ronda Rousey, Johnny Hendricks, Carlos Condit, and then legends like Chuck Liddell, Royce Gracie. And then, of course, you have the two special out-of-nowhere fighters that they are advertising, Mike Tyson and Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee isn't exactly out of nowhere because he was in the first game, but, you know, he's not a UFC fighter today, so it's strange to see him in the game, but he fits perfectly in there. Obviously, he's probably the most famous martial artist of all time. Anyway, the only issue with them having 250 fighters or more than 250 fighters is that a lot of them kind of feel the same. Like, it's hard to really differentiate from one to the next besides just their moveset. EA didn't do the best job of just making some fighters really, really feel like you're that fighter, or the AI doesn't exactly control how you think that they would control. It's not terrible. They definitely, for characters like Conor McGregor, he's going to stand up and fight more than he's going to try to take you down. It doesn't feel different enough going from fighter to fighter. Going to all the different types of modes in the game, the UFC 2 has a ton of different modes to play. There's career mode, of course, which in the new feature for this year is you can play through career mode as a female fighter. And same as last year, you start with the Ultimate Fighter and then you work your way up to UFC Champion. You can, from what I've played, it seems like you can change your weight class one time and then go and try to win the belt in 2 weight classes. You still have training games, and you can go through a whole camp from fight to fight. And a new thing this year is, instead of where in the last game you would just get little video messages from fighters of them and their actual video of them telling you something, or calling you out or something like that. Where in this one, there's actually in-game cutscenes of the story of the fight leading into the fight, and that ups the presentation quality a lot more, and it makes you feel like each fight actually means something more than just building up your stats. There's, of course, for other game types, there's your Fight Now mode where you can just play one quick UFC fight. There's KO mode, which I have mixed feelings about. KO mode is just UFC at its core. This just pure striking, stand-up striking. There's no grappling, there's no takedowns, nothing like that. Each fighter has a set number of times that they can get hit, and it's a best of 3, where let's say if you can get hit 5 times and the first person to land 5 successful strikes gets a knockout, and then it's on to the next round. When they first announced this mode, I thought it was just going to be the same game type, just without the grappling, like no hit counters or anything like that. You still had a health bar and stamina and things like that, but it's still a lot of fun. It's not exactly what I was hoping, and I still think that the way I originally thought it was going to be sounds more fun, but this mode is great for parties, and it's a lot of fun with mostly just for a social environment. It's not a mode that I'm going to be playing by myself very often, and it's only offline, which is kind of disappointing. And then there's skill challenges where you can refine your skills, and just for trophy or achievement hunters, it's kind of fun to do that. There's the live events mode, which shows upcoming fight cards, like for UFC 197, for instance, where you can play the upcoming live fight card, and you can actually vote on the winner of the actual fight. And if you pick correctly, then you can earn stuff for maybe ultimate team packages or points, attribute stats, things like that, where you can build your fighters. So that's not just for fun. You can also earn things from picking correctly or just based off of skill, knowledge, or luck. Online modes, there's online championships, which of course you can build up, start from division and work your way up, and then win online title from fighting real people online, of course. The online play in UFC 2, from what I've seen so far, runs pretty smoothly. The input lag is really minimal. I had a couple connection issues with some people, but that could be for any number of reasons. When I got into a fight with a great connection, it really did feel good. I never thought I lost a fight because of lag issues or input lag or anything like that. It seems to run pretty smoothly. Of course, with the game not officially out yet, in my time of testing, it was not the easiest to find a fight, but of course once the game is fully released, I'm sure that won't even be an issue at all. And then my favorite game type, lastly, is Ultimate Team. Of course, EA Sports has Ultimate Team in almost all of their franchises, from Madden to NBA to FIFA to NHL, and now in UFC. And I think it's a brilliant idea where you create up to 5 characters in different weight classes, different genders, and you can make whoever you'd like, and then you have your team, your ultimate team, and then it's like a trading card based system, just like all the other games, unless you've never played them before. Then you can earn these packs and upgrade your stats, or get a stamina boost or an attribute boost going into a fight, and or make them recover a little bit quicker, so you can't just do fight after fight, because you have to give your fighters time to recover. The issue is there are microtransactions where, of course, you can buy more packs with real money and things like that, but I never felt that it was pay to win. I didn't have any issues winning fights. I don't know how much people are spending money on it in its current state, but same with all the other Ultimate Team modes that I've been playing throughout the years. I've never felt like it's ever been pay to win, and they definitely stuck with that formula this time. I never felt like I needed to spend any money to get a leg up on the competition. Of course, it helps, but if you're better than the other person that you're fighting against, you're probably going to win. No matter how much money they spend on their characters or on packs, it still just comes down to pure skill. It is definitely not a pay-to-win system. Now going into gameplay, of course, the most important thing, how does the game feel? From how it feels, it doesn't feel too much different from last year's game, but there's still been a ton of improvements to make the whole game play so much better. The most important, or the biggest change at least, is the ground game has been improved immensely. They talk about their Grapple Advantage system that makes every move count, every strike, every angle, where your arm is, where the amount of stamina you have, all of that stuff factors into something that they call Grapple Advantage, where it just determines how easy it's going to be for you to advance position, whether you're on top, whether you're on bottom, whether you're trying to go for a submission, whether you're trying to get up from the ground, if you're in the clinch. There's just so many different factors that work into this, and it makes it feel so authentic and giving you different options where instead of maybe just going from full guard to half guard, maybe you can go from full guard to side mount or things like that, where it's just, it feels more realistic, and it makes it so you have to calculate all of your moves. If you land a couple strikes really quick, then you can transition easier from there. But the issue The only issue really quick from ground strikes is they don't really seem so significant. They don't feel very impactful. I feel like you could just punch somebody in the face from on top all day and they wouldn't get knocked out unless you're in like a full like a postured up position. Like if you're in top mount postured up, then it just takes 3 or 4 shots and you'll probably knock them out. But when you're in side mount or full guard, it seems like all your punches are just seem really weak. It makes a really weak noise. There's no vibration or camera shake or anything like that. But going back to Grapple Advantage, you do want to keep landing those types of strikes because it helps with your Grapple Advantage, but then you also have to worry about your stamina. So it's a really great system that they have where everything is risk reward, and if you really put your thought into it, you can really dominate the ground game for people that are knowledgeable versus somebody that's just kind of mashing buttons or flicking the stick in any way, not knowing what they're doing. And the HUD shows you at all times like what direction you can go into where you want to. Like if you said, like let's say if you're in side control and you want to go to top mount, it'll say to hold left on the right stick to move there. And so it's one of those very easy to learn, very difficult to master situations. And I think they nailed it with the transitions in the ground game this year. The game, however, does clearly favor a stand-up fight more. You can just have total slugfest still if you want. Your stamina will drain, but your permanent stamina, like where your stamina can fill all the way back up to, it going from round to round. If I had fights where just to test it out, I was just having a crazy slugfest with spinning kick after spinning back fist after Superman punch, and then I would have fights where I was trying to conserve my stamina. And going from round to round, I never felt like if I was just going all out slugfest, I never felt like I was really taking a big stamina hit. But in the round, if you drain all your stamina and your opponent is really good at defending that, and once you get your stamina drained, you're really opened up for a few really quick, easy shots. So it goes both ways, but I could definitely tell that if you go out there and just start swinging, then you have a better chance than you should, at least. The game isn't perfect from a bug standpoint either. I had just so many random knockdowns where maybe, like if someone was going for a spinning back kick and I did a leg kick and hit their other leg, then they might like flip over and have some kind of really weird ragdoll effect of them trying to get back into a proper position. Sometimes it works really nicely and really smooth, and I like that they fall down in that situation like they should if they get their legs kicked out from under them. But just them trying to motion back into their specific position that they're supposed to be in, sometimes it looks a little awkward. But clipping wasn't bad at all, like with the cage or with fists landing and things like that. Sometimes the game, like once you fully, like let's say you're going for a Superman punch, once you fully extended your arm and there shouldn't be any power left in the punch, you can connect after that, and every now and then it'll still rock them or do a lot of damage when it really shouldn't have from a momentum standpoint. But again, that doesn't happen very often. The bugs in this game are pretty minimal. Finish the fight is their big tagline for this, and finish the fight is both, again, good and bad for this. The idea is good, and their health bar flashes, and it makes a really great sound when you rock somebody, and you can tell that they're all wobbly. But sometimes it's really hard. It's a little bit easier than it should be for them to run away. I wish your fighter would show a little bit more urgency. Sometimes it seems like you can just start swinging and really finish the fight. But then other times it just doesn't really go into that state where your opponent will be rocked, but then the aggressor won't go into that finish the fight state where they can like throw punches a little bit more wildly to try to land that final blow. And sometimes it would and sometimes it wouldn't, so I'm not really sure if it's like what's supposed to factor into that. And if you knock somebody down, like if you really rock somebody and knock them down and they're not exactly knocked out yet, pouncing on them isn't as clean as it should be either. Sometimes, like, I'm not sure if you just walk up to them and have to wait for them to get into the animation, or if you just, because sometimes I'll start pressing, I played it on a PS4, sometimes I'll start pressing the square and triangle punch buttons, and he'll just be swinging at the air, and then after a couple random wild punches to nobody, then he would duck down and start actually punching them in the face. So that could run smoother. It feels way too canned. Like you have to be in a really specific spot so then they can run into another really specific spot and then you can start punching, and it just seems weird. And then once you finally do get down there pounding them in the face, if you finish the fight that way, the ref will just like stand up and wave his arms when he should be like really trying to rip you off of him. Because in the UFC, the ref, like, he'll dive in there, and if it's really dangerous, then he'll like tackle the people even if he needs to. He never just stands there and waves his arms. So it would be nice to see the ref like really get in and pull you away. That's just a little complaint, but it's nothing major. But it would be that nice little exclamation point on a win to see that and get that authenticity. One last little complaint that I have for it is that strikes seem to be too like lined in onto a target. It's almost like there's a line going from your fist to their face, and if they duck, then you'll still like throw punches down towards their face. There's hardly ever like glancing blows. It'd be nice to throw a punch, and if they duck, then maybe you'll like clip the top of their head, or if they sway, maybe you'll just barely clip the side of their head. But it seems like your fists are always just lined straight in towards their head or their body if you're throwing body punches. So in that sense, it would be nice to not have it seemed so predetermined where you're going to be punching, and maybe it would make defense a little bit easier, because they do have a lot of great defensive mechanics between blocking and parrying and swaying, but I found myself not swaying too often because they would just throw punches straight at my face anyway, no matter which direction I was swaying. But that's enough of the complaints. Basically, overall, I think it's a huge step up from the last game. Ultimate Team definitely keeps me coming back for more. I can already tell that's by far the game type I'm going to be playing the most. I'm actually going to be streaming it quite a bit on twitch.tv/GetSomeVideoGames. I'm going to be streaming this game a lot there. I'm going to be putting up some Let's Plays on it on our YouTube channel. KO mode is great for parties. If you have 2 controllers, definitely fire that up. People are going to love it, whether it's just so they can do a Bruce Lee versus Conor McGregor throwdown, or if they really want to get into it. KO mode is just a ton of fun for parties with crazy ragged out knockouts, and it's so much fun. It's UFC is just a nice change up from your combo based 2D fighters like Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter, where obviously people love those games and there's a really hardcore community, but it's also great to just have something like this with more defensive mechanisms and just more realistic and not crazy 35 hit combo games like those games. And I think it's a must-have for any MMA or UFC fan. Definitely a must-have for you guys. If you're not too much into UFC, maybe give it a shot. It's a ton of fun. I actually became a UFC fan in general because of the old THQ UFC games. So now it's nice that EA has taken over and are making these fantastic games. So even if you're not big into UFC, I think these games do a really good job of getting you into the brand and into the MMA culture in general. So there you go. I hope you liked my review. If so, please subscribe right here on YouTube. Follow us on Twitter at @getsome_games. Let us know what you think in the comments, either about the review or about the game in general. And we also are doing a UFC 2 tournament, so look in the description for that if you want to sign up for our online PlayStation 4 tournament. And thank you very much for watching. And until next time, I'm out.